were of the kind that had fought man's achievements and progress for centuries by every means available. In the Middle Ages, their weapon was the fear of God. In the 19th century, they still invoked the fear of God. For instance, they opposed the use of anesthesia on the grounds that it defies God's will, since God intended men to suffer. When this weapon wore out, they invoked the will of the collective, the group, the tribe. But since this weapon has collapsed in their hands, they are now reduced like cornered animals to bare their teeth and their souls and to proclaim that man has no right to exist by the divine will of inanimate matter.
The demand to restrict technology is the demand to restrict man's mind. It is nature, i.e., reality, that makes both these goals impossible to achieve. Technology can be destroyed, and the mind can be paralyzed, but neither can be restricted. Whether and wherever such restrictions are attempted, it is the mind, not the state, that withers away. Technology is applied science. The progress of theoretical science and of technology, i.e., of human knowledge, is moved by such a complex and interconnected sum of the work of individual minds that no computer or committee could predict and prescribe its course. The discoveries in one branch of knowledge lead to unexpected discoveries in another. The achievements in one field open countless roads in all the others. The space exploration program, for instance, has led to invaluable advances in medicine. Who can predict when, where, or how a given bit of information will strike an active mind and what it will produce? To restrict technology would require omniscience, a total knowledge of all the possible effects and consequences of a given development for all the potential innovators of the future. Short of such omniscience, restrictions mean the attempt to regulate the unknown, to limit the unborn, to set rules for the undiscovered. And more, an active mind will not function by permission. An inventor will not spend years of struggle dedicated to an excruciating work if the fate of his work depends not on the criterion of demonstrable truth, but on the arbitrary decision of some authorities. He will not venture out on a course where roadblocks are established at every turn, in the form of the horrendous necessity to seek, to beg, to plead for the consent of a committee. The history of major inventions, even in semi-free societies, is a shameful record as far as the collective wisdom of an entrenched professional consensus is concerned. As to the notion that progress is unnecessary, that we know enough, that we can stop on the present level of technological development and maintain it without going any farther, ask yourself why mankind's history is full of the wreckage of civilizations that could not be maintained and vanished along with such knowledge as they had achieved. Why men who do not move forward fall back into the abyss of savagery. Even a primitive, pre-industrial economy run primarily on muscle power cannot function successfully through the mere repetition of a routine of motions by passively obedient men who are not permitted to think. How long would a modern factory last if it were operated by mechanics trained to a routine performance without a single engineer among them? How long would the engineers last without a single scientist? And a scientist, in the proper meaning of the term, is a man whose mind does not stand still. Machines are an extension of man's mind, as intimately dependent on it as his body, and they crumble, as his body crumbles when the mind stops. A stagnant technology is the equivalent of a stagnant mind. A restricted technology is the equivalent of a censored mind. But, the ecologists claim, Men would not have to work or think. The computers would do everything. Try to project a row of computers programmed by a bunch of hippies. Now observe the grim irony of the fact that the ecological crusaders and their young activist followers are vehement enemies of the status quo, that they denounce middle-class passivity, defy conventional attitudes, clamor for action, scream for change, and that they are cringing advocates of the status quo in regard to nature. In confrontation with nature, their plea is, leave well enough alone. Do not upset the balance of nature. Do not disturb the birds, the forests, the swamps, the oceans. Do not rock the boat or even build one. Do not experiment. Do not venture out. What was good enough for our anthropoid ancestors is good enough for us. Adjust to the winds, the rains, the man-eating tigers, the malarial mosquitoes, the tsetse flies. Do not rebel. Do not anger the unknowable demons who rule it all. In their cosmology, man is infinitely malleable, controllable, and dispensable. Nature is sacrosanct. It is only man and his work, his achievement, his mind that can be violated with impunity, while nature is not to be defiled by a single bridge or skyscraper. It is only human beings that they do not hesitate to murder. It is only human schools that they bomb, only human habitations that they burn, only human property that they loot, while they crawl on their bellies in homage to the reptiles of the marshlands, whom they protect from the encroachments of human airfields, and humbly seek the guidance of the stars on how to live on this incomprehensible planet. They are worse than conservatives. They are conservationists. What do they want to conserve? Anything except man. What do they want to rule? Nothing except man.